How? Yes. Welcome back to.
What was that, Tim?
Oh yeah.
You're keeping that in the video,
Yeah,
right?
that's the opening.
Hell yes.
Welcome back.
All right.
To Aetheral Space 3.2 Whoa, what the hell? This is the same day. What's going on?
Viewers, have you ever heard of something called experimentation? Invented by the gene tyrants 5,000 years ago.
Wow.
It allows one
It
to
was
try new
1,000 years
things.
ago, but okay.
1,000 years ago.
What? So, but yeah, but why don't you explain it in like real words, though?
Oh, of course. So, we're gonna try something radical, which is to give you 2 Aetheral Space videos this Wednesday, and 2 Amori videos this Sunday.
Exactly,
If
and
you
it's
like
just because
this
we wanted to
format-
experiment. There's no other reason.
Yeah. And if you like this format, maybe we'll keep doing it, and if you don't, we'll go back to the way we've been doing it.
To tell
But
us
we
to
figured
like,
that
if
way
you
the
like
people who
format,
like
you'll
each...
have to comment.
Yeah, if you like each individual piece of the content, you'll be able to binge it more,
Exactly.
I suppose.
Exactly. Like in the Netflix era, people just want to binge Aetheral Space.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I know, when I'm browsing Netflix, I'm like, why the fuck isn't Aetheral Space on here? And then I'm like, oh, right, because it's on Disney+. Plus.
Exactly.
Aetheral Space is not on Disney+. Plus. Okay. So, because these are being posted on the same day, I don't need to give you a recap, dum-dum. You better not have skipped ahead.
If you skipped ahead, I'll know immediately.
I'll give you a recap anyways, though, because I'm feeling nice. Dragon and Ruth are big mad that Skipper didn't tell them he killed a president. And then Muzazi was being tortured, and Dragon was like, hey, buddy, I'm going to interrogate you. And Muzazi was not feeling good about that.
I can't imagine why. They seem to get on well.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, shoot me in the back once, shame on you. Shoot me in the back twice, shame on me. You know what I'm saying? So, he should really blame himself for that.
Exactly. He kind of did it to himself, really. So
Yeah. He actually did, because he's the one who went to chase Dragon. He didn't have to do that. Like, Dragon is not a big priority target. He chose as a special officer to do that. At least if I'm understanding right. Like, obviously Dragon is wanted, but he's not like the Supremacy's number one.
No,
he's
they
just
don't
some
give that
fucking
much of a
random
shit.
guy that left. Yeah. You think I'll talk? Said Muzazi, glaring straight forward. Dragon sighed as he sat down in the chair opposite from Muzazi. Expecting the special officer to cooperate was a long shot, he'd already known that, but it was still yet another annoying thing to deal with. Another headache prompt to add to the list. Of course not, he said, rubbing his hands together. The room was damn cold. You're the kind of guy to bravely resist interrogation or whatever. Believe me, I don't want to be here either. Muzazi scoffed. Liar. How am I lying? You have no sense of duty, no sense of responsibility. If you did not want to be here, you'd find some dishonorable way of extracting yourself from the situation, as you did on Kalis Breck. Dragon suppressed the urge to roll his eyes. Was this really what Muzazi thought of him? That he was some galactic vagabond that flitted from place to place as he pleased, slipping out of the Supremacy's grip like some kind of escape artist? Ridiculous! Still, somehow getting out of the situation Skipper had gotten them into was a tempting idea. He shrugged. Well, he said, you can think whatever you want about me. I won't bother trying to convince otherwise. You're the kind of guy who doesn't change your mind easily, right? Muzazi stiffened slightly, and Dragon had to suppress a grin at that. It was true that he didn't much care how this interrogation went, but he couldn't deny some dark glee at making the man who chased him all the way here squirm. He had memories of Muzazi's neutral body language, like an animated statue in his archive, that he could compare to the swordsman's current demeanor to detect deviances. Jesus Christ, Dragon! What the fuck? Is Dragon like a weird sadist? Why would he go that far to be like, oh, look how far you've fallen?
well, just like you can tell, like because for interrogation mode.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was, like, purposely pulling it up to be like, ooh, my dark glee. What's wrong? Dragon went on when Muzazi didn't speak up. Did you forget I'm a cogitant? I can work out most things about you just by glancing at your face. A lie. He needed a little more than that, but just true enough to be unsettling. Muzazi shut his eyes. Ask your questions, he growled. I will refuse to answer, and you will run away, as is your nature. Dragon frowned. This whole interrogation was getting a little mean-spirited, and he wasn't there for that. He held up the script they'd given him, reading through the questions as he carefully observed his prisoner. Your partner, Dragon began. They know you have one. Where are they? Micro-expressions made themselves clear before Musashi could suppress them. Uncertainty, confusion, and anxiety in equal measure. Even without Musashi so much as opening his mouth, Dragon knew the answer well. "So you don't," he said smugly. "That's fine. I can just put an X next to the question." He did so with 2 quick swipes of his finger, then glanced back up towards Musashi. The swordsman was clearly gritting his teeth behind his closed mouth, given the minute movements of his jaw. His frustration was increasing with each second. Dragon knew he really shouldn't do this. Chances were that Musashi would somehow break free of this predicament, and when he did, he'd seek retribution for each and every humiliation. But he just couldn't help himself. Musashi had caused him a lot of trouble, after all. I mean, Musashi tried to fucking save you. What the fuck is Dragon on about?
He did just...
He's the one who caused all of this. I know, because fucking Dragon betrayed him after he lost the universe to save him from a kidnapping and false imprisonment. With a stun gun to the back, which is the most cowardly thing in Musashi's worldview. Like, it's understandable.
Yeah, well,
fucking...
Dragon is also petty.
This is why I like Musashi better than Dragon. That's facts. He went on. "How did you know where the security operation was taking place? That wasn't exactly public knowledge. You had insider knowledge, didn't you?" Musashi, I would maybe say insider information to spread out the use of the word knowledge.
Oh, sure.
Just me being me. I'm sorry, I know. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's the last episode.
Musashi's face didn't move an inch. No! Musashi's face didn't move an inch. That was fine. "You realize, of course," said Dragon slow. Oh, wait, fuck, I realized something.
Mm-hmm.
I have to stop the whole recording for this. If you release 2 Aetheral Spaces on YouTube, does that mean you have to release two on Wednesday on Royal Road? Or are you still going to release them normally and it's like a secret YouTube bonus?
I'll release them normally. It's a secret YouTube bonus.
Ooh! Good thing you guys are YouTubers, am I right?
Are you lucky?
You realize, of course, said Dragon slowly, that keeping your face still so you don't make any compromising expressions is itself a compromising expression. The smallest intake of breath through the nose. Dragon was in his element. Oh yeah, that's why they had him interrogate Ruth too, right?
Yeah. That was what he was there for.
Back on Crestpool, he'd only sat on the sidelines of interrogations like these, but taking the interrogator's seat came more naturally than he'd expected. "The fact that you hid your expression so quickly compared to the first question," explained Dragon, drumming his fingers on the table, "means that, unlike with that question, you do know the answer, and you very much don't want me to know. That suggests that me having that knowledge would be either harmful either to you or to the person who gave you that information, and obviously it wouldn't be you because you're already in a bad situation. So it's the person who gave you the intelligence. You didn't dispose of them, and in fact, you know where they are right now. That location is something which, of course, you don't want me to know." Another tiny breath, the merest hint of anxiety, but it was like blood in the water for Dragon. Excuse me. He leaned forward a little more, grinning. "But it's more than that, isn't it? It's hard to believe you've got someone on the inside of security, seeing as they've surveilled within an inch of their lives. If one of them talked to you, we'd already know about it. So it's someone who gets this kind of information through another method, then. An information broker, maybe. Someone in the city's underworld, at the very least. Dragon makes a lot of assumptions." A subtle twitch of the eyebrow. He'd hit on something with that speculation. Dragon steepled his fingers. "I don't really care who gave you the information, to be honest. They sure do, but I couldn't care less. The fact that it's an underworld figure means that this person is an ally of yours, not a puppet. And an ally of your partner, too, then, I'd wager. I'd wager we'd find them both at the same place, wouldn't we? Or at least, that's what you think." He leaned back in his chair, trying to suppress the self-satisfied smile spreading across his face. Even without Musashi saying anything, he knew he was right. People like him couldn't keep things close to their chests, even when they were putting all their willpower into it. Musashi sighed with a shuddering breath, opened his eyes again. "You think you're very impressive, don't you? But you are not." Dragon raised an eyebrow. "How's that?" "You sit there, throwing out your accusations as if you were reaching into some crime, enacting some justice. You do this when you are the criminal, you the betrayer. You take on a role that...
Well, isn't yours. Don't know what happened to that.
That giant yours, you mean. That isn't yours, and you relish it, kicking a man while he is down. It's disgraceful." He's honestly not wrong.
Yeah, he's wrong.
Musashi's 100% in the right. The smug smile turned into a frown. "You're saying you're not the criminal here? You're literally in a jail cell. That doesn't mean much, Dragon, if we compare this to the real world. I'm not saying anything about this morally, but you did break this planet's laws. That's a fact. There's a greater code than the laws of men." "And what's that?" "The laws of the soul," Musashi said earnestly. "The promises we make ourselves. Dragon rolled his eyes, chuckling derisively. "And you laugh," Musashi shook his head. "I speak of honor, of dignity, and you think it a joke. You have the heart of a demon, Dragon Hadrian." Dragon bit his lip. He didn't much care for the moral judgments here, even when they were so blatantly overdramatic. "You don't seem so dignified right now," he said, looking the disheveled Musashi up and down. "You look like shit, actually. No offense." "A temporary setback. I will be free of this place before long." Dragon shrugged. "Yeah, probably. They'll make some stupid mistake and you'll be back on the streets, challenging lampposts to duels." "You shouldn't make such light of it." Get it? Light like lamppost? Classic joke, Musashi. "As soon as I am free, I will be coming after you. How long are you prepared to look over your shoulder?" A nasty flare of anger bubbling in his chest, Dragon leaned forward again and planted his hands on the table with twin slams. "I won't have to," he hissed. "You know why? You're too stupid to approach me from behind. You'll wander near me, shout out my own name, and it'll end with you on the ground and me standing over you because you're an idiot, because you don't understand the way the world works." Musashi showed no signs of caution at Dragon's sudden outburst. He simply raised one eyebrow. "And how is that?" he said, sounding distinctly unimpressed. This is when Marie breaks in. She's like, "Musashi, you won the psychological battle." Dragon was only too happy to enlighten him. "These things you ramble on about, honor, dignity, all that shit, they don't exist. They're things people made up to make themselves seem more noble. There's no difference between me shooting you in the back and shooting you in the front. If I were to pull a gun out right now and shoot you while your hands were tied, it wouldn't mean a thing. You'd be dead, and I'd be alive, so I'd be the winner. The person who's willing to do what it takes, whatever it takes, gets what they want. That's the rule. That's the only rule." Oh my god, Dragon is literally an anime villain. See, this is why you should root for Musashi. I want Musashi to earnestly win and come out on top. He is so much more. I root for him. Musashi, I want you to win. Okay, just know that.
What will
he heaved out angry breaths. He heaved out angry breaths, surprised at just how much Atoy Musashi had managed to frustrate him. He wasn't even sure if he fully believed all the words that had come out of his mouth, but they'd flowed like a river all the same. I wonder if some of this comes from Dragon's backstory with what Mr. Fix got away with, or whatever the fuck Mr. Fix was. Or Crestpool in general, maybe. Musashi sighed. "What an awful world you must live in. Smoke-filled streets, houses crushed together, familial hands wrapped around his throat." "It's called reality," Dragon snarled. "Maybe I'll see you there someday." And with that, he rose from his seat, with such force that the thing clattered to the floor behind him. Hands balled into white-knuckled fists, he turned on his heel and marched out of the room. He had more questions, but he was in no state to ask them. Atoy Musashi. That idiot's childish worldview pissed him off more than anything else. Skipper really had made a mess of the gymnasium when he'd played that game of catch with Dragon. Safety fencing was still set up in several places where repairs had to be made, massive dents and holes in the wall, floor, and even the ceiling. "Doesn't look like you guys were too gentle in here," muttered Ruth, staring up at the ruined ceiling as she and Dragon entered. "That's because we weren't." Dragon was still in a foul mood after talking to Musashi, so he stalked into the room with his hands plunged into his pockets. "Is that a problem?" "Of course not," Ruth grinned. "There's no such thing as teaching without somebody getting hurt." She stopped in the middle of the empty... She stepped in the middle of the empty gymnasium and summoned her skeletal set with a flare of red aether. The full metal creaked as it came into existence, Ruth cracking her joints in preparation. So it's made of metal? I mean, I know it's made... Oh, dull metal. I know it's made of aether, but, like, it's supposed to be like a metal?
Yeah, it's armor.
I thought it was like some weird carapace thing like insects have.
It's metal.
I see. Does it, like, actually form metal, or is it just the same properties as metal? Like, would it conduct electricity? Perhaps. "I think most teachers would disagree with you there," Dragon remarked, taking position across from her. "Usually, the goal is to teach people without getting them hurt." "Yeah," Ruth conceded, shrugging. "But where's the fun in that?" After Dragon's vertical trip through the streets of Talden, he decided that his current repertoire of aether tricks really wasn't enough to actually do him any good against the kind of opponents they were currently facing. He'd managed to take down Musashi, so he was still pretty great, but that was more down to the situation than any individual strength on his part. "Oh, you mean like Serena giving her life and everything she had to keep him busy so you could shoot him in the back? Oh yeah, you're so good, Dragon. Fuck Dragon. All my homies hate Dragon."
That's what
he said. I know, I'm just being angry at Dragon. Hate Dragon. He thought about asking Skipper for more training, but things were kind of awkward there at the moment, and he wasn't in the mood for the whole man-child approach to education. Ruth seemed to know what she was doing anyway. Creating a physical object out of aether had to be a fairly advanced technique. So, she said, voice made hollow by the mask over her face. You notice anything? Dragon's eyes flicked over her armor, at first finding nothing of note. But then Hey, Dragon, I heard you needed a real teacher, says Dragon, stepping out of the shadows. But then a second later, locking onto the slight dent on her shoulder plate. I noticed that damage before, during the battle, he remarked. It's still there? Ruth nodded, patting the shoulder plate in question. Until I get it beaten out, yeah? You see, it's not like I 100% make this armor out of aether, you know? Dragon nodded slowly, a new conclusion steadily forming inside his mind. Realization dawned. It's an actual physical object, he said, testing the waters. At some point, you somehow turned it into aether, and now you can turn it back whenever you want? Oh, it's like fucking mallet space.
Yeah.
Ruth snapped. Bingo! Or, chess. I don't know the one. It's called recording. It's meant to be one of the, I think, 4 pillars of aether? Not sure if they're pillars, actually, but I know they're important. Maybe he should have gone to Skipper, after all. She counted 4 fingers on her hand as she mouthed to herself, and, apparently satisfied, nodded. Yup, 4. Infusion and alteration, recording, and manifesting. Technically, me making the armor appear is manifesting instead of recording, but you know what I mean. No, said Dragon. I don't know what you mean. That's why I need teaching. Yeah, cool. Ruth snapped her fingers again, clearly an unconscious attempt to imitate Skipper. Anyway, how it goes, infusion is when you, pour aether into something to improve the qualities it's already got going in. Okay. And alterations when you mess around... yeah, that's what I thought, but I was kind of confused, so I paused for a second. And alterations when you mess around with that aether to give the thing new properties. No, give the thing new properties. Dragon nodded, dutifully filed the information away for future use. Recordings when you take an object and absorb it into your own aether. Kinda make your aether remember it. Like downloading a file onto your script, right? Should dutifully be dutifully filing the information away?
No.
Alright. Well, how do you do that? Ruth put a finger to her chin, clearly in deep thought. Well, it kinda came natural to me, but you gotta be at least a little familiar with the thing you want to record, I guess. Your brain needs to know how it's put together before you can take it apart and make it into aether. And you can only have so much stuff recorded at once. Like with the files on a script, you've only got so much space, right? Dragon cocked his head. But you've got 2 whole sets of armor recorded. I had to work at that, though, Ruth said proudly, fists at her hips. The more you practice storing stuff with your aether, the more storage space you have. Like flexing a muscle. This was intriguing. He couldn't think of anyone better suited to learning how to quickly analyze an object than a cogitant with his prior experience. There was promise here. And then you manifest it, he concluded, and that pulls the object back out of your aether. Okay, hang on. Let me go over this again in my head. Sorry for stopping. So, alterations changing it. She didn't mention infusion yet, right?
Infusion's when you make it better at what already does.
Okay, and then recording is putting it down, and manifesting is putting it back out.
Yeah.
Yep. So is that a transfer or a copy and paste thing? Now it was Ruth's turn to cock her head. What do you mean? Well, Dragon said, can you make lots of sets of armor, or just the one? Ruth scratched her head. Just the one. Why? Just wondering. It wasn't much like saving a file at all then. With a file, all you were really doing was copying the old one and deleting it when you were done. A real transfer wasn't possible. With Aether, though, it seemed that you were transforming the object and reverting it when you needed to. So, Dragon went on, how do I do this recording thing? Like physically, how do I do it? It takes some practice. Dragon raised an eyebrow. Got nothing but time? Ruth grinned. Then let's get started. Ooh... Bonding time.
Ooh.
What would Dragon record as fucking stun gun?
My ultimate weapon.
Musashi, I've got you now. You don't have a gun. Or do I? What sound? I like to imagine Aether makes like technology sounds when it happens. Like manifests like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just like electricity.
That's my question this week. It's not a question. Write down some Aether sound effect noises in the comments. It'll make a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
And people won't think you're crazy. That was good. I enjoy it. I'm glad to finally be learning more about Aether. I'm glad to finally get to see more Musashi and Dragon. I really like that. I mean, obviously, I'm clearly a bias towards Musashi, but I like how we kind of got... we kind of got both of them winning at parts in that conversation. We got a little bit more insight into both of their philosophies. I think Dragon's, like it mentioned, is heavily influenced by his past experiences. But very, very interesting. The best character development always happens, in my opinion, when you smash two characters together.
Yeah.
So, we got some of that with Dragon and Musashi, we got some of that with Dragon and Ruth, and the chapter before... Oh, that's what I forgot in the recap from last episode. I forgot to mention Serena talking to Sate.
Yeah.
But, we get that with Serena and Sate, too. Tanhony does a really good job of mashing characters together and kind of using them to build off each other, and it's really enjoyable to watch. And that's why I say Aetheral Space is at its most fun when it's about the characters, because the characters are very interesting, and they all bounce off each other so well. Not that there's anything wrong with like the action scenes, but I think the real draw of this series is definitely the interactions. It makes it really fun and exciting to read. I guess that's it. You have anything to say?
That's it. Hope you enjoyed.
All right. Well, I hope you epic YouTubers enjoy your early sneak peek of this chapter.
We love you.
Compared to Royal Road users. What'd you say?
We love you.
Oh, well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to build a parasocial relationship.
He doesn't love you. I do that.
Yeah, Tanhony loves you.
Darnell hates you.
I'm grateful towards you. I don't hate you.
That's the end of the episode. Darnell hates you.
Bye!
Bye!
I don't hate